Hello everyone, welcome to the channel again. So today we'll be studying about the next literary theory, which is phenomenology. So what do you mean by phenomenology? And what is the base and the foundation of phenomenology? It says that the meaning is not lying in the object. Meaning is in the experience of that object. That is the entire foundation, or whatever we are going to study in this video. That is all about it. That it is all in the experience, how it is entering in our human conscious, how we are perceiving it, how things are happening when we read something and it enters into our conscious mind, and then something happens, how it is all happening. That is phenomenology. So it all started through a German philosopher, Edmund Husserl, in the early 1900s. He talked about these things, that how these things are happening in the human conscious and all these things that are out there. Okay, the main thing is that he talked about that scientists talk about facts, data, experiment, measurements, all things which is in the data and numbers. Okay, but they ignore one thing completely, that is the humans who are experiencing the world where these all data and numbers are happening. So Husserl says that we have to find out that how is it happening, how these things are entering in our conscious mind, and what happens after that. So I will try to take an example of a mango. For example, if a scientist have to explain that, he will talk about calorie deficit that is out there, vitamins in the mango, minerals in the mango, all these things which shows the objective truth of the mango. So, how is it like to eat a mango? Who will talk about that? The smell, the memory it triggers. These are the experience which we have when we eat the mango, and this is phenomenology. We don't have to see the output, the facts, numbers that are out there. We have to see that how we are experiencing these things in our human conscious. That is phenomenology. So there are some of the few key concepts which are there for us to understand it in the most simpler ways. The first is intentionality. Now, our human conscious mind is not always freely floating. It is either thinking of something, feeling hurt, or planning something about future. It is doing something, or it is directed into the one direction. We can say that, okay? So when we read literature or any of the work which has given to us, no matter it is fictional, non-fictional, we live inside that character. We try to imagine that scene which the author has created for us to feel. So we can say that we are reading that thing intentionally because we are living that thing that has been portrayed and given to us. So the conclusion is we can say that reading is an intentional act, and that is phenomenological thing here. The second concept is bracket and epoch, which you can understand as that, for example, you have experience of something, or you have been provided with something, or for example, you have been provided with a thing like mango, okay, and you have been asked for certain things. You will judge that mango based on your past achievements, based on your past experience with that, your memory with that. That is something which we call as bracket. Okay, so we have to put that experience, that bracket aside, and then we have to feel it all together afresh. That is epoch. Epoch is something which puts away your experience outside, or your past thing outside, and gives you the ability and opportunity to feel thing afresh. That is epoch. Okay. The next thing is being in the world, which was given by Martin Heidegger. He was a student of Edmund Husserl. He tells a thing, or we can understand it first with the help of an example. For example, there is a poem which is talking about the death and drought in the Punjab. Okay. Now, there is a student who reads that poem and he feels quite moved and ruptured because his or her grandmother or grandparents faced this situation where they had nothing to eat, nothing to drink, nothing to go out, nowhere to go out. He felt this, he felt sad, he felt ruptured in his heart, in her heart. Okay. And there is another student beside that, who feels sad for them, but it doesn't rupture their heart. That is the difference. So the being in the world by Martin Heidegger, he says, he puts emphasis on the thing that you cannot separate the reader from their existence, because it will make them able to look at the things, to judge things, to make the decisions. So no matter if you give the same poem to any of the students which are out there, okay, they will understand that and judge that thing based on their prior experience. Now, Being in the World by Martin Heidegger also inspired HR host Horizon of Expectation. Actually, this is from where Horizon of Expectation came from. So the next is Georges Paulet. He says that the text temporarily takes over your conscious. Now, how does that happen? For example, you are reading a work or a theory or anything that is out there. And has it happened to you any time that when you were reading that work, somebody called you by your name and you didn't listen to it? You didn't hear that. Has it ever happened to you? Or on the other way, you can also feel that you finished a book and after finishing that, you felt disoriented. Why that happened? Because while you were reading that thing, you were totally immersed into that work and you were feeling all these things. That's why when you finished that thing, you have to remind yourself that who you are, where are you from, all these things. That was the point of Georges Paulet, that how the text takes over your conscious as temporarily. The next point is Merleau-Ponty. He says that till now Husserl talks about that it is all about phenomenology, and it all these things which we have talked about is purely mental. But he says that the body is also involved in that. For example, when you read something which is sad, your heart also feels sunken. When you read something which is very light and very funny, you also feel good and your body feel thrilled. So whatever you are reading, your body is also showing the meaning. So Merleau-Ponty, he says that your body is also the meaning. It is also creating the meaning even before the mind articulates. So your body being physical, that is also the important part of experiencing that meaning. That is the foundation of phenomenology. So these were the important key concept that is around phenomenology. The main thing that is out there is the meaning is in the experience of the things, that how we are experiencing, how it is entering into our human conscious, what happens when a text and a conscious blends together, what happens inside our mind when text goes there and there is conscious mind. That is phenomenology. That's it for today. See you soon in the next video.